So hi guys, Jonathan Graham here with Nick Jennison, and we are thinking about guitar, and we are here at Ibanez UK to take a look at a few sneak preview new guitars that are coming out next year. As you can see from my jumper, it's not quite Christmas or the new year just yet, but we wanted to get in ahead of the embargo, and you're taking a look at one very special guitar right there, eh?
Yeah, this guitar is a really serious piece of kit. Now, this guitar is actually already out. It's available if you have the readies to go and buy one, because this guitar retails for somewhere in the region of £7,000, which is wild. But this is part of the Vision Series, which is, if you've ever played the J.Customs that Ibanez have been producing for the last 20 plus years, they are, or have been historically, the absolute peak of the tree, the cream of the crop. This is what happens when you take the best guys in Team J-Craft and say to them, hey look, just make a guitar, money no object, make the best instrument that you can make, and this is the sort of thing that you get. So it is, in essence, an RG, but it's got so much stuff going on here, it's wild. It's a neck-through design, which looks and feels absolutely to die for. It's gorgeous. It's a wonderful feeling instrument. All these exotic woods, this fabulous burl finish. We actually have a little bit of a purple to green burst on both of the wings of the maple that's on the top of this guitar. Redesigned tuners, it's all brass everything. We've got recessed knobs, all that sort of deal. Ultimately what this is an exercise in the ultimate in RG luxury. And I got to tell you, it plays and sounds fantastic.
It does.
We probably shouldn't have done this one first, because everything that's going to follow is going to be in the shadow of this beautiful instrument. But to be honest, there's a few guys down here today, and there is a little bit of a fight over this guitar. So
there's a queue just behind the camera. Now, just to speak a little bit about this Vision Series, because as you've mentioned, it's something that's even beyond the J-Custom. Some of us out there might be a little bit confused though where the signature line fits in with that, because sometimes you'd be thinking signature guitars, that's going to be the absolute premium, but the J-Custom is just that, even that little bit more, isn't it?
It is, it's true, yeah. So for the most of the signature models sit in the Prestige line, which is J-Craft, Japanese made. This is not all of them. There are of course Indonesian made signature models available too, but the majority of the signature models that you and I think of as like 90s heads, where we think about the JS and the Gem and all these sort of the AT and all these sort of guitars that we grew up lusting after. They all sit in the Prestige range. The J-Custom is parallel to, if not slightly exceeding that, but this is the tip of the tree. So, because we're still talking about Christmas, so this is the star, this is the angel on top of the Christmas tree, so to speak. Please do not put this on top of your Christmas tree. Bad things will befall this expensive instrument.
Now, for people that are familiar with the Ibanez shapes and stuff, and like we're talking there, the different price ranges, feel-wise, what would this be similar to?
So I had a J.Custom RG when I was about 22 years old. I had a conversation with myself at 24 when I decided I needed to have a grown-ups guitar, which was utterly foolish, and I should never have got rid of that guitar. It was tremendous. It's not dissimilar to that. So it has this wizard style neck, but it doesn't feel like the wizards that we grew up playing, like an RG 550 or like a Gem 7V.
It's not as thin as that, is it?
Well, it is. It's a similar profile, but the finish is different. So it feels like a much more luxurious, somewhere between satin and gloss. It's not sticky. But the thing that really does stand out is, I mean, people talk about rolled fretboard edges. Have a little feel of the edge of that.
Oh wow, yeah.
It's incredible,
That's unusually,
isn't
it? Unusually rounded, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's super comfortable.
Oh yeah, and it is super thin, isn't it? I mean, it's quite close to maybe even a Gem sort of thickness.
Not a zillion miles off, and of course the Gems are slightly thicker than the RGs of the period. It's a really comfy neck, is what we're trying to say, but it feels a bit more weighty than a typical RG. I'm guessing that's the exotic woods that have been used, but it also just feels like it's a lame thing that I say so often when I'm playing a guitar of this kind of caliber, but it just feels luxurious. It feels premium. You hold it in your lap and you go, ooh, this is nice. Like, you know, if you look at a really nice car, and I'm not really a car guy, but if you get in a really nice car and you go, well, what's the fuss about? And you sit in it and you go, ooh, that's nice. Ooh, that's nice. It's kind of the only way I can really describe the feeling of it. But of course, the sound is also, it's the pinnacle.
That's it. And I mean, we're trying to capture as much of that as we can for you to check out. One thing that I don't think we're going to be able to capture quite is just how incredible that top is.
It's outrageous,
I mean,
isn't it?
You're talking about proper coffee table stuff there that you definitely don't want to get any dings on. But
yeah, I think I need to hand this back because I'm a bit scared of it, if I'm honest. But I think the culmination of this guitar, if money is no object and you're an Ibanez fan, this is something you got to check out, if for no other reason than just to see what is possible.
Absolutely.
From the guys over at Ibanez.
And for the guys similar to our age, you know, been around for a little while, we all know at the high end, Ibanez, the quality is
it's untouchable.
Level.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely untouchable.
So, and that's really what you're dealing with here. It's just the prices, the prices are matching at these
It's astronomical.
Yeah.
Now, the next guitar we're going to check out is not quite so astronomically priced, but let's say it's definitely astronomical in terms of its design. I'm going to grab that now. Interested to get your take on it.
Okay, let's do it.
So from a guitar that is very much an evolution of the guitars that we grew up with to something that is a little bit like the sci-fi shows that we grew up with. John, what do you think of this? This is the new Alpha Series. And I chose the 8-string model. 7-string models are available. No 6 strings just yet. And this marks a huge shift in Ibanez's direction back into the world of metal. When we grew up, Ibanez were the metal brand. And I'm not saying that they haven't been the metal brand for the last few years, but there are several ergonomic guitar brands that have kind of come in and maybe swept up that more technical end of the metal crowd. And this guitar marks Ibanez reclaiming of that crown. And I'll be honest with you, I've got absolutely no idea what to play on a guitar like this.
Well, I think something to point out with it is, just like you said, with the metal stuff, there's all this evolution that happens in that style of music, and this is an evolution of the actual guitar shape itself to make sure that it fits for a modern day metal player. Incredible design. I mean, straight away it does remind me of like the Tosin signature, you know, it's one of those ones.
For sure.
And that's definitely led the way in terms of a lot of these shapes. I'm assuming so.
I think, well, that makes a lot of sense though, because if you think about players like Tosin and their contribution to the world of guitar design, it's like a 30 years on from players like Steve Vai and his contribution to guitar design in the form of the Gem, which basically gave us the modern iteration of the 2 humbuckers, 1 single coil Super Strat, the 24 fret commercially available shred guitar. So it makes sense that there is now this guitar archetype, if you'll pardon the pun with Tosin, an archetype that Ibanez are kind of like dipping their toes into with the Alpha. But it is still very much an Ibanez in terms of feel, which I really like. So when you get to this kind of price point, these are Indonesian-made guitars, but they are coming in at somewhere just a little under £2,000, we think. Check prices at the time of viewing. But it feels really well crafted in a way that some, I'm not going to name any names, but some ergonomic guitars that I've played maybe have felt a little bit cheap. This feels really, really on the money. Can I grab this up? Because I'm going to show you some of the design appointments. So the first thing I want to mention is, as you rightly pointed out, we've got Fishman Fluence Modern humbuckers. I'm a Fishman Fluence fanboy. The Moderns are not my favorite in the range, but for this low string stuff, oh my God, there's a clarity and kind of a mid-range growl that is, I think it's almost synonymous with the voice of an 8-string guitar at this point. But of course, we've got all the other 3 voicings, or the 3 voicings in total too. So we have a passive voice, we've got a great single coil voice too. But other things to note are the body shape. So this is exceptionally well balanced on either leg. I am very much a classical position player, but it's got these lovely cutouts to accommodate that. And the jack socket is up here, so you're not bumping into it like you would do with a Gem style jack socket. But something I want to point out with the monorail bridge, which is really interesting, is we have 8 individual bridges, so to speak. They're not just individual saddles. Each one is its own bridge, and it can be strung either through the back of the bridge or it can be strung through body, and you can do any combination of this. And we even have extra large ferrules on the low two
You're
strings.
going to need that, yeah, for the tuning this was in.
But sure, yeah, this was in like drop E when I picked it up. I'm like, wait, is there a bass player being at this?
Just before you do turn it over, something very unusual here as well, of course.
Oh, of course.
What's going on here?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So Ibanez are calling it a 2-bolt neck joint. I'm seeing 5. So there's like two, and one other here.
Yeah.
But this gives you crazy upper fret access. So if you want to get all the way up into the dusty end, even on the 24th fret of the low whatever string, the 8th string, in this case the lowest E string, you can do that. I don't know why you'd want to play that fret, but if you want to get onto the 24th fret of the normal strings, it's a breeze, it's a piece of cake. And this makes sure that it's rock solid, even with all of that string tension going on. So I want to hand you the neck real quick. I want to hand you the whole guitar, but I want you to pay attention to the neck, specifically, not just the neck. We're not going to take it off or anything. Yeah, but tell me what you notice about this neck.
This is like shaking Hulk Hogan's hand. It's absolutely
Only
huge.
in terms of size. We should point that out.
Yeah.
It's a massive neck though, but it's really quite slim, especially down at the treble end. So it's
it's comfortable. It is comfortable though. Yeah.
It's a tapered neck, and it's a multi-scale. So we're dealing with 25.5-inch scale on the high end, going through the 27.5-inch scale on the low end, which is not as drastic as some multi-scales out there. And I think from what I can see, it's around a 10th fret, neutral fret. I can't really tell by looking at it, but that's a nice place to put it. It means kind of around that soloing point, you are dealing with quite a neutral fret position, but then as you get down to the low end, you can take advantage of that multi-scale length. But pay attention to the taper of the back of the neck as well.
Okay, yeah. So you're looking at a lot thicker here. There's a lot more meat at this lower end than there is at the top.
Yes.
Yeah, very interesting.
So it's a tapered neck, and that means you've got a little bit more mass down behind the lower strings, which kind of guides your thumb around into that more, I guess we keep saying ergonomic, but this ergonomic classical fretting position.
Yeah. Because when you mentioned there, how does the neck feel? I was almost expecting some type of compound radius type action, but of course this is a similar type of technique, but just done in a different way. Yeah,
which I think is a much more natural feeling, a much more comfortable way to execute this kind of neck compared to like the half of an Allen key thing that we see on some other guitars. Again, this is personal preference, but to me, this feels a lot more playable. Although, I gotta be honest with you, I have no idea what to play on an instrument like this.
It's true, when you look at it, it's one of these ones, I guess, within a couple hours. Everything's kind of been thought out in that way that even if you're not really so familiar with these types of guitars, within a couple of hours, you're probably going to feel like it's just like an old guitar that you're used to, you know what I mean?
I don't know if I go that far. I don't think I'm ever going to get used to a multi-scale 8-string, but I think I'm like, my brain has ossified and I've run out of plasticity at this point. But there are guitars that are a lot more in my kind of wheelhouse, and I'm going to go and grab one of those now.
Go for it. Okay, so definitely something a little bit more familiar, a little bit more RG style.
Most definitely. So this is one of my favorite iterations of the RG platform. This is the RGD, which kind of treads a middle ground between that traditional RG shape that I love and that you love, and the crazy modern stuff. I don't know what to do with a guitar like that, man. I'm not that guy, but this guitar, this is a little bit of me. So it's a slightly longer scale. It's 26.5-inch rather than 25.5-inch, but it's not enough to feel alien. And it has these beautiful big fire-breathing pickups, but they're passives rather than actives. We've got a total of 6 sounds with the switch down here that's going to take us between 2 different settings on the three-way toggle quite what they are. Who can say? Because Ibanez are great at giving you all these wonderful kind of in-between voices. But this is really just an example of the whole Ibanez for metal thing, but for a more traditionally minded player. Someone like myself, it's 6 strings. It feels like a normal guitar. How do I feel about that? It feels like a
Oh wow,
it should feel at home.
weighted guitar though. Oh, that's a killer neck, isn't it?
Yeah, but you wouldn't immediately know that that was a long scale guitar. So we've got it tuned to drop C, but it just feels like a standard tuned Ibanez 6-string.
Yeah.
So it's more of an invisible scale length to my mind rather than the really overt multi-scale thing. And I think it's super comfortable.
This is a very unique neck shape.
Yeah,
isn't
for
it?
sure. For sure. It's kind of similar to a traditional RG wizard shape in terms of like the width and the flatness,
Yeah.
but it's a little thicker, which is going to be more stable with low tunings, especially if you're hitting the thing harder. It's comfy, right? For more traditional players like ourselves, this just kind of goes to show that Ibanez has something for you guys too. So this whole Ibanez for metal thing is not just about modern, super technical stuff. For laying it down, there are still guitars for that as well.
Oh,
and the
yeah,
purple finish is really something, right?
I think the thing that really stands out the most with it is one of these ones that if you were like a Strat player, you might look at this and think, oh, that's not really for me. I mean, obviously it's like a super Strat, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you might think it's not. But this is totally in that wheelhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of feel,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, I wouldn't say it feels completely like a vintage guitar in that sense, but there's definitely less of a transition. I would say probably no transition from playing a traditional electric guitar into playing something that is still in the realms of baritone scale, like as evidenced by the fact that neither of us play those kinds of guitars, and we're both feeling super at home in this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very, very cool.
Beautiful.
Speaking of baritones, right, we were talking on the way up here about semi-hollow guitars, and 2 of my great loves are semi-hollow guitars and baritone guitars.
Okay.
And Ibanez has brought out a guitar that is both. And I'm going to go and grab it now.
And as if by magic, we've swapped out guitars once again. So this is very special, eh?
Isn't it just, right? So I was talking to you off camera. This is a guitar, out of all the guitars we've seen today, this is the one that I am most likely to steal.
Okay.
By steal, what I mean is buy, because I feel like I need one of these in my life. So oftentimes, because we've talked about Ibanez really like kicking the door down with the metal thing, that's fantastic. I'm pleased to see it, but I love the Ibanez semi-hollows. Right, there's such a rich heritage with players like George Benson, Pat Metheny, John Schofield, and we were talking on the way down here about like these more traditional styles of guitars, perhaps not getting the love they're due. And what are we greeted with? A semi-hollow baritone, and it sounds unreal. Now, what you guys probably aren't picking up on is how loud this thing is acoustically.
I'm actually thinking that we should have maybe captured that in your playing, where it's just, but it's a good excuse to get one in the studio, in your studio, so that you can so you can try that yourself.
Ibanez, if you want to send me one, I mean, I'll buy one if not. I couldn't tell you a great deal about it, other than the fact that it is a full baritone scale length. It will probably tolerate bass 6 tuning. I'm going to check this out, and we'll pop the actual details down below if I've got any of this wrong.
Well, I think the thing is, guys, what you're not aware of is they are just about to kick us out the door, and we couldn't not get this on camera. So
if it feels like we're rushing, it's because we've got one more thing that we want to show you before we get booted out, which is not a guitar. It's not even an Ibanez. It's something new from our friends at Laney, which is this. This is the Super Grace Loudpedal. Now, you're probably familiar with the Ironheart and Lionheart loud pedals that Laney have released in conjunction with Martin Miller and Tom Quayle. This is a Supergroup format loud pedal, and this has been released in conjunction, designed in conjunction with Billy Corgan. Now, if you're our age, you'll know Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins. If you're a young person, you'll know him as that guy with the podcast. But what he most certainly is a man who knows tone. The tones in those albums, unreal, man.
well, this is the thing. So behind the scenes, we know that Laney have been working with Billy on this for a little while, and it really doesn't disappoint. You're talking about those classic Smashing Pumpkins tones all in there. Of course, he's a big fuzz guy, but not only that, he's got very specific tones that, you know, fit within records and, you know, less of your traditional sounds. You're going to get the traditional stuff in there as well, but this is definitely something a little bit different, isn't it?
Most certainly. And we're going to check this out in fine detail in our studio when we get one of these. So you're going to have to wait for some tones, but rest assured it is worth the wait. We're really excited about this. It is, of course, from Laney's Black Country Customs branch, who are doing all of the fantastic high-end pedals and high-end amp-in-a-box type pedals like this.
Yeah, we've not seen one thing come out from the Black Country Customs that hasn't blown us away.
No, I've got a couple of pedals in the studio I use all the time.
I've got one that I'm not sending back. I won't even say what it is in case they ask for it.
For sure, man, for sure. Well, listen, guys, they're about to kick us out the door, so we're going to say goodbye. My name's Nick Jennison. I'm thinking about guitar. This is Jonathan Graham. This is Ibanez HQ, checking out some of the new releases from Ibanez and Laney for 2026. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.